Hi everyone, welcome back to Popsicle-frog Knits. My name is Brooke and this is my channel where I make videos. I say that I haven't made a video in a really long time, and honestly since I started, oh my gosh, it's been 3 years. 3 years ago, I've not been consistent. Life has been a lot, but I'm back for at least a little bit. We'll see what happens. I have some pretty exciting big things happening in the next 6 weeks, going on a little bit longer because, yeah, it's just really exciting. And I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but I will end up talking about it. But I'll at least make some videos for the next little bit before that starts. I'm hoping to maybe batch film some. But I'm back. Today we're going to have a traditional podcast episode. I believe this is the 10th one that I will be sending out into the world. It is not the 10th that I've filmed. I have already filmed this one once. Many of the other ones and actually since I posted my last video, I filmed a couple and I just was not happy with them, and so they have never seen the light of day and they have been thrown in the bin. And honestly, I've been trying to make more videos for at least 2 months now, and I've not been happy with any of them because I think I just was really out of the groove of things, and so I was saying like and all the time. But that's not important. Hopefully this one will see the light of day. If you're seeing it, hi, this one made it. I'm happy with this one, or as much as I can be without being a perfectionist. Because sometimes being a perfectionist just makes things difficult. But we're gonna start regular podcast, and so we'll do what I'm wearing, and then I'll do finished objects, works in progress, and I'll do a little bit of acquisition / plans, and then if I have time, some media updates. I have been reading a ton. I haven't watched a ton of television, but I watched some. So, and I guess maybe I'll just do a little personal update right now. If you want to jump into the knitting, I will have timestamps, and I'm hoping I'm not gonna take too long on this, but I haven't been here in a while. Last August, I think, is when I last posted. At that time, I was working 2 jobs, so I was working 6 days a week, and in September, I went full-time at one of my jobs, so I quit the other one. But I work in retail, and so my schedule is never really specific, and honestly, I don't get it super early, and my only consistent day off is Tuesdays, so that is when I have to schedule all of my appointments and doctor's appointments, which there have been a lot of. This is a new setup. I moved into a townhouse in January, or I guess the end of December, because my parents moved overseas. And so we stopped renting the house we were in, where I've been filming for the past 3 years, and they moved overseas. We still share this townhouse, so I just have one bedroom in it, and then there's one other bedroom, living, kitchen, little dining table. So it's nice. I really like it. I think the setup's cute. I hope it is. I thought it was pretty cute because I got my yarn and my sweaters, my plant and some books, and yeah, so this is a new setup. Those are kind of the big updates. I have my laptop here, which has all of my notes, because the first video I filmed after 8 months of not filming, I said and every other word. So it was unusable. So I have spent a lot of time making these notes. Let's get into what I'm wearing. So this is the first, this is the first garment I finished for myself since last October. I think the last thing before this that I finished for myself was I made a cottage cardigan by Jack Cieslak. I really love their patterns, and I love that cardigan. I have plans to make more. It's just a fingering weight cardigan. But I started this in November. I took a really long break, so I didn't really pick it up until April, and then I finished it on the 17th of May this year. So it took a long time, but in the interim, the knitting I was doing was I had been working on a sweet shop blanket, which is a pattern by Laura Penrose, using my Advent from the Skein and the Stitch, which was Alice in Wonderland themed. Haven't worked on that in a long time because I got into, sorry, there's hair on my pants and it was bothering me. I got into doing more garment knitting and I want to go back to my blanket. I really do. I have the parts of it that are finished laying on the back of my couch. So it is on display and it's cute, but I do want to finish. I have one more set of squares and then I'll have used all the colors and then I'll just repeat on the bottom. So that was what I was working on. And then I've also done 2 sample knits. So the first one I did was for Kate of Red Door Fiber Studios. And both samples were actually Doppio's, which great pattern. Really love it. I've made one for myself, so I've made 3 now. The one that I made for Red Door Fiber Studios was like this beautiful pinky purple with a suri that had little specks of blue in it. The second one I did was for Haley of Twin Veiled Artificer. She makes mostly jewelry. She's done some stitch markers too, which are really cool, but she wanted someone to knit for her. And so she had ordered the yarn and everything. And so I knit a Doppio for her. It was this beautiful mint green, pink, like strawberry matcha latte Doppio. Beautiful. So those were the first 2 garments I finished this year, and then I moved on to this one. So let's talk about this one. So this is the Sadie sweater. It is by Ozetta or Haley Smedley. I love her patterns. The first pattern I ever knit was one of her patterns, and honestly, when I think about it, I think she was the first knitwear designer that ever popped up on my Instagram in like a suggested post, and I became obsessed with her stuff. And I was like, maybe I should learn to knit. So thank you, Haley. You are the reason I started knitting, which is kind of crazy. But I followed one of her sock patterns and then now we're here. I think I've knit 3 or 4 of them. Her patterns, I mean. And I love this one. It's honestly just a super simple sweater. It's the one thing different about it is it does have rolled edges. So it is just all over stockinette. There's no ribbing, which was really nice. Nice little change, different look than what I have. And it kind of is more just like an elevated sweatshirt for me when I think about it. So it's just kind of an easy throw on, nice superwash merino. So it's really soft and feels nice on my skin. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the size and dimensions of everything. So I knit a medium, which is what I typically knit. My bust size normally is around a 36 inch. To 38, just depending on when I measure myself, when in the month it is. It fluctuates, but I typically knit a medium. This was knit on 4mm needles. I used 3.75mm needles for the ribbing on the neck. Sorry, not the ribbing, the rolled edge on the neck. So I went down 0.25mm, so one size. The finished bust circumference is about 40 inches. So it gives me about average like 5 inches of positive ease, which I really like. It's really nice. And I knit less of the body. I'll probably have inserted footage by now. If I haven't, then I will now. But I only knit 10 inches of the body before doing the bind off, because I typically crop things. I have a really short torso, and even though I'm tall, so my legs are super long. I'm like 5'7.5" typically, so long legs, short torso. This is where my hip starts, so I crop things, even though they don't always look as cropped on me, but I also don't like longer garments, so I just knit things shorter. It's great. I save yarn. So I also have long arms, so I typically add at least 1 extra set of decreases. So I did that on here, same as always. I think it was like a 8 to 10 row, so it was about 1 inch between decreases, so I added about 1 inch to each sleeve. For the collar, I picked up the recommended number of stitching, but I went down that needle size. I had to knit it. I knit it 3 times before it was even like passable, really. And I'll be honest, I still don't love how open it is. I don't love like a boat neck like this necessarily. Sorry, I'm looking in the viewfinder to see what I'm showing you guys. So I just wear a white t-shirt under it, but honestly, I think I'm gonna try to crochet some elastic in to cinch it in just a little bit, so I'm a little bit more happy with it. Because I spent a lot of time knitting it, I want to be happy with it. But overall, I love it. Let's talk about the yarn real quick, now that I've talked about the specs and the pattern and everything. So this is yarn from Witchfire Fibers, and I love Jess's yarn. The cottage cardigan I mentioned earlier, that's in her yarn, and I loved it. Great experience again. I have some more of her yarn that I'm going to use later in the year, hopefully. Maybe we'll see what projects I get around to. I have a lot planned. But this is on her classic DK base, which is 100% merino wool, and it is in the color I've been looking for you. So that is a quote from A Court of Thorns and Roses, which, if you've been around, I have made my love of Sarah J. Maas known, and I have quite a bit of themed yarn because there's a lot of dyers that love her too and make yarn based off the books, and I love the books. I love ACOTAR. Throne of Glass is my favorite. You can't... I love ACOTAR. That was what I first read. Throne of Glass, top tier, favorite series I've ever read. I have a Throne of Glass tattoo. I love it. But this one is based on ACOTAR. It's a line from the first book, and I'm not going to say anymore because if you've read them, you probably know what it's from. Great moment. One of the best moments in the book, in my opinion. But it is, yeah. So this, she originally made this colorway for her Sarah J. Maas Made Me Cry collection, which came out like last February or March. And that is when I got the yarn for my cottage cardigan. I did not get this in that pre-order. I got this after Flock because I knit a sample for Jess last June into July. I made the Violet Tea by, I believe, Jessica McDonald, and I'll insert a little picture. It was very cute, and it was, I think, in the colorway Lone Bison, so it's just this really nice brown. And that was one of the samples she took to Flock because that was a color that she was taking with her. And so I had credit to her store. And I went to Flock, so I got to see it in person. I got to meet Jess. It was lovely. But I didn't buy any yarn from her while I was there. And so in her after Flock, like in stock update, she had 5 skeins of the DK left. And so I got it. And I love it. There's a bunch of dogs. She had 5 skeins of DK. I snatched them up with my gift card to her store, and I still had money left on the gift card, which was awesome. And so the other yarn that I have from her, I used the rest of my gift card. So, yeah, sometimes sample knitting's fun. Sometimes I don't want to knit for other people, and then sometimes I'm motivated by the idea of basically free yarn. But I digress. So, bought the 5 skeins. As I started knitting it, I was very worried I wasn't gonna have enough yarn, even though I had calculated everything, and I was like, surely I'll have enough. I crop everything. But as I was knitting it, I was like, oh my goodness, what if I don't? What if I don't? And then, lo and behold, December rolls around, and she does a little Christmas update, and one of the colors she re-releases, wouldn't you know, I've been looking for you. And I had in fact been looking for that yarn. Sometimes I hate the things that come out of my mouth, but turns out I didn't need it. So I bought 1 extra skein, same color, same base. I didn't touch it. I have a full skein. And I have at least 50 grams of the 5th skein that I use. So I have at least 150 grams left of this. So I will definitely be making something else. Maybe one of the like ripple crops, bralettes, one of those. I don't know. I'll have to look and see my yardage that's left. But I think that's everything about the Sadie sweater. If you have questions, let me know. But I really loved it. Every just a note, every garment that I'm talking about is size inclusive. It goes up to at least a 60-inch bust as the recommended, or as to fit a bust size of at least 60 inches, which means with ease, it still fits. With the recommended ease, it will still fit a bust of at least 60 inches. That is very important to me. I have talked about size inclusivity for almost 3 years now, and that's not something that I have changed my stance on, because why would I? This is an inclusive space. If you don't agree, you don't have to. I'm not judging you if you don't. It's just a personal choice. And to that, I have some videos coming up that I'm really excited about that kind of have to do with size inclusivity and knitting. And so keep an eye out for those. It's probably going to be a series. Hopefully I'll get that filmed in the next couple of weeks and get it out, because I've been working on it for so long. Okay, I'm gonna have some coffee. I have my cute little flower cup. I don't work there anymore, so I'll talk about it. I used to work at Anthropology, which is where these cups are from if you've never seen them. I have so many. I love them. I think they're 16 ounces. They fit my coffee perfectly, and they're so cute. And yeah, so I have so many because discount. Let's talk finished objects that are not my Sadie sweater. I have two. As of last night. I had one and then I finished one last night. So when I wrote these notes, one of them was still a whip and one of them didn't exist. So that's how long ago this was. All right, so we're gonna talk about my second finished object, which is, this is my mini mock neck, which is a pattern by Jessie Mae Designs. And I feel like everyone and their mother has knit one of these. This is not the first one I've knit. It is the first one that I wear though. The first one I knit was in a sport or DK weight yarn, and I thought I could make it work, and it just doesn't fit the way I wanted it to. So I made this one. Let's talk about it. So I didn't gauge swatch. I always gauge swatch. That was really out of the norm for me, but I just didn't feel like it. I'll be honest. And typically my gauge is a little bit tight, so I went with a medium thinking that it would fit fine. And honestly, it does. I wish it was a little bit smaller. And so going forward, I have some ideas on how to do that. But let's talk about it. I started this on the 21st of May and I finished it on June 3rd. So pretty quick knit, which was great. I've only worn it once, but it has hair all over it. I'm shedding like crazy. I didn't used to shed. I think it's just my hair's so long now. For me, it's not ridiculously long, but for me, it's long. I usually get it to here and chop it off. But I've worn it once. I really, really love it. It's gorgeous. Can't wait to keep wearing it. So again, took me a couple of weeks. I knit a size medium on 3.75 millimeter needles, which is what the pattern calls for. Pre-blocking, the bust was 32 inches. I didn't measure it after blocking, but I didn't wet block it. I steam blocked it, and I don't think it grew. So that's kind of the size and dimensions. Let's talk about the mods that I did. I used helical knitting on the body because it is hand dyed and I wanted to avoid pooling, and I only had one skein, so I just split it up. I made one ball have a little bit more so I could do the front and back. And actually, no, I did the full ball, and then once I finished the front and back, I split what I had left into two balls, did my helical knitting, all good. I used every last piece of yarn that I had. I had a piece this long left. So that was the goal, is to use as much yarn as possible. So it is, I mean, it's a crop pattern, but it's cropped, as you could probably see. I used Explorer Knits and Fibers Earthy Sock, which is 100% superwash merino, in the color Fireheart, which again, we're going back to SJM. That is what one of the characters calls one of the other characters. I don't want to spoil anything, so It's a nickname for one of the characters, and I loved it. I thought it's a beautiful, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a green, yellowy, dark mustard. I'm not good with describing color. I can match colors. Can't describe them. I feel like I don't have the vocabulary for it. So it's beautiful. I really love it. And so let's talk some of my thoughts on it, which do include my choice of yarn, which is on me. So I don't know if non-superwash was a great idea for a summer tank, but we're here. It's made. We're gonna go with it. I love the color, like I said, and I steam blocked it because when I first tried it on, when I finished it, I didn't want it to grow any. So some of my knitting friends, thanks guys, suggested that I just steam block it. So I steam blocked it, got the edging. I don't know if it's gonna, the ribbing that's on the edges that you knit at the same time, really just to get that flat and to smooth out the texture, because I've been having some gauge, or not gauge, but like, yeah, I guess gauge. Some of my rows are a little bit funky. Now that I have this, I can see what my gauge was and go from there. If I knit one with the same gauge, then I will either go down a size, honestly, or cast on less stitches at the underarm and then do some body decreases. And I think that would fix the few little things that I don't love about it. I mean, I love it, but going forward, there are things that I can do to tweak it to just fit how I want it to a little bit better, which it's knitting, everything's handmade. And if you haven't knit a pattern before, you really don't know exactly how it's gonna fit on you. And sometimes you gotta make some course corrections, which is fine. And I do have yarn to make more of these. Because of the size and how cropped I make it, I can really get by using a single skein of yarn. So this is a really good project for me if there's a color I really like in a hand-dyed yarn and I don't necessarily need to buy a full like sweater quantity or garment quantity. I can just get the one. So I'm really happy with it. So yeah. Let's talk other finished objects. Okay, let's talk about the one I finished last night. It is, there's a line down the middle. This is my best vest, which is by James & Watts. I'm happy with it. It is unblocked, which is why it's puckering so much, because it needs to have a nice little soak so everything relaxes. And I originally started knitting this 2 years ago. And I just made some weird choices, didn't pick it back up. And so and it had been sitting unfinished in my stuff. And so I frogged that a couple weeks ago, and I'd never frog something and reclaim the yarn, and so I did that. I steam blocked it, got it to where it looked almost brand new, and then I knit with it, and I'm really happy. And I made a size medium, didn't gauge swatch for this one because it's an oversized vest, and I knew that because of the way I've been knitting, I'm not knitting very tightly right now, so I was just like, I'll knit a medium. If it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit bigger. It's an oversized sweater vest. I wasn't super worried about it. I really don't have a lot of thoughts on it. It's bottom up, which I don't love just because it's really hard to gauge the length. And honestly, it might be a little bit longer than I wanted it. But if I've blocked it and can try it on before I finish editing this, I will insert footage. If not, I'll probably put some in the next video so you can see it. But again, don't really have a lot of thoughts. I think when I was doing my decrease rounds on the top panels, I know I messed up in a couple of spots. And so I think I ended up with one front panel being 2 rows longer than the other front panel. But I don't think it matters. Again, it's an oversized sweater vest. Not particularly worried about it. Yeah, but the yarn I used is Woolfolk Far, which is a chainette yarn, 100% non-superwash wool. And I got this yarn super on sale because Woolfolk is so expensive. 2 years ago, one of my local yarn stores closed, and so I got like 70% off, I think. And so I think I got 5 skeins, was worried about running out, so ordered another skein from somewhere else. Happened to be in the same dye lot. So lucky. But it's a chainette yarn. I'm hoping I'll like the way the yarn looks a little bit more once I've blocked it. I just don't know if chainette yarn is for me. I don't think I need to use it again. But it's really soft. I do think it's going to pill quite a bit, so we'll see what the longevity of this is. But it was a quick knit. I think it took me a month, but I was not exclusively knitting on it. I've been doing a lot of socks. So, that's my last garment. Now, speaking of socks, I have so many. So, I'm going to rapid fire through the vanilla socks because they're just vanilla socks. I'll tell you the recipe that I follow, and then we'll just kind of talk about the yarn because that's the fun thing. They're vanilla socks. It's tried and true. I've been making vanilla socks for a very long time. I love them. I thought I'd perfected it. We'll see when I'll get to the last pair that I just finished. But I have 4 pairs of vanilla socks that I finished this year. So this isn't just last month. This is just kind of a recap of the year because I haven't done a ton. But 2 of these pairs I started last year and then just didn't touch and finished in, let's see. This pair I started in September. This pair I started in October, which I think I was in a spot on these. I was going to a football game and I was in a spot in these where I didn't want to be knitting at the football game. So I cast on a new pair. So, and then these just sat and I finished them both on April 16th. So, real quick, vanilla sock formula I follow. I do 15 rows of 2x2 ribbing. I either do, previously I'd been doing 40 rows before doing the heel. Right now I've been doing 45 just to make them a little bit longer. And then I do 37 rows of a slip stitch heel. And then I do a gusset. I pick up 18 stitches on each side. And then I do my gusset decreases. And I do 56 stitch socks on 2.25 millimeter needles because that's what works for me. I do about 38 rows between finishing the gusset and the toe. And then I just do a little kind of wedge toe. So I do 7 rounds where I knit one and then decrease one, or I decrease one and then knit one, and then I do 3 decrease rows in a row, and then I Kitchener stitch. That's my formula. The first thing I knit was a sock, so I learned sock stills pretty, obviously early on. It was the first thing I learned. But the kind of slip stitch, heel, and gusset instructions I follow, I got from a blog, which is The Winwick Mum. I still have it pulled up on my phone in case for some reason I forget. Typically, I'm pretty good at remembering because I made a lot. So, got 4 pairs. And all 4 of them are club colors from the yarn club I was in last year, which was by Paisley Knits. And it was her book club yarn. And so each month was based on a different book. And so this is I have June, July, August, September, are the 4 months I've done right now. So I'd already done the other months, and then, so I have a couple left. So, socks number 1. This is June's color. These were based on Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is my favorite of her books. I love it. I have this, my camera's actually sitting on a stack of books that has the special edition of Beach Read in it. So, love this. The colorways are Overwhelmed That You Exist is going to be the variegated. And then So Perfectly My Favorite Person is going to be the pink that I have on the heel and toe. So really love that. Really pretty blues, or not blues. Pink is the word I was trying to say. Pink, some like aqua-y blue, turquoise-y colors. Really, really love. And I love wearing vanilla socks. I don't wear them to work, but when I'm not working, I typically wear them. Love them. Wear them around the house. And I'm going to end up with so many vanilla socks, I'm not even going to be able to wear like one a week. At this point, if I keep knitting them forever. So, next one. And Beach Read is one that I have read. These next three, have not read the books. I want to, but I have not. So, this is July. Ooh. This is July's Colors, which is based on Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I haven't read any of her books. I loved the Daisy Jones and the Six TV show, and I've heard fantastic things about her books. Just haven't read any yet. So, my brightness went down. Colors. So, the variegated is going to be called Nina Riva, and then the blue contrast heel and toe is The Ocean Must Favor You. So, these are really pale. I mean, you can see the colors. They're really pretty, very subtle, kind of delicate looking, I guess would be the best way for me to describe it. That was July. Now we're going to August. These ones are fun and funky and really really fun to knit. And they're shockingly bright in the best way. Look at that. They look like they're glowing. I would love to hold them under a black light and see what happens. But like I was saying, this is August. So for August, this is based on the 7-Year Slip, which is by Ashley Poston, I think. And I have heard that is a really cute contemporary romance. And again, it's one I want to read, but I can only read so much at a time. And I don't listen to audiobooks, so I haven't figured out how to knit and read at the same time. So typically I have to pick if I want to knit or if I want to read. And not that you guys asked, but the colors on this one is the variegated is called The Love Stays, and then the yellow is called Lemon, which is pretty apt. So, all right, let's move on to my most recent finished pair. These have not been blocked yet because I literally finished them a couple days ago. Oh, and I knit these ones. These started on May 13th and finished them on June 1st. So, I take socks everywhere. Like I said, I have a lot of appointments, and so when I'm waiting, I'm just knitting in the waiting rooms. All right, last pair of vanilla socks. Like I was saying, I just finished these, so they are unblocked. These are September's color. Ooh, sneak peek. And it is based on the book. I don't have this one in my notes because I just finished it. This is based on the book Sharks in the Time of Saviors. I don't know a lot about this book. I think it might be magical realism. Don't quote me on that. Please don't quote me on that. But I do think I own it. I think I bought it when it was on sale on my Kobo because I'm an e-reader girl. If I buy a book, typically it is what my old therapist used to call a trophy. So, all right, so the ends are still hanging out. They are woven, but I don't cut the ends of my yarn until after I've blocked, which I think is a tip that Andrea Mowry had in one of her podcasts. So they're very fun and really like this color. Like most of these colors, not things I would normally pick, which I think is what's really fun about like a sock club, is it's colors I wouldn't normally try, but I get something really fun out of it. So same formula. The one thing with these is if I hold the toes together, you can see there's a difference. They are knit, it's the same number of rows. It's 45 rows. And for some reason, this one has pooling, which none of my other socks from Coley, the whole however many I've done, like 16, have had cooling. This one doesn't. Don't know why. But my gauge is not the same. I knit up, like if I told you the dates, it took me like a little over 2 weeks to knit this pair, but somehow the socks are completely different gauges. I don't know. Maybe I was really stressed knitting one of them, which could be likely with everything I have going on, but it doesn't matter. They're socks. They're cute. I'm gonna wear them. I need to block them. But those are all my vanilla socks. I didn't say the names of the yarn, which is, I'm getting my brains out the window. We're gonna try to recenter, refocus. Gonna have a sip of coffee, which is mostly ice now, but the variegated color is called Hope Can Be a God, and then the like gorgeous dark teal is called Big Destiny. So yeah, those are my last pair of finished vanilla socks. I have one pair that I'm working on because I always have a pair going. So I got one more pair of socks to talk about because these ones are not vanilla socks, so I do want to talk about the pattern a little bit, but these are my Petal Drop socks, which is a pattern by Florence Miller or Handmade by Florence. So I'm going to try to get out of the picture and show them to you. I hope you can see. They are lace socks. I don't think the pattern's going to come through well, but they're really cute. It's just yarn overs and knit two together and slip slip knit. And I'm really happy with them. These were a fun time. I've only ever knit one pair of lace socks, and they were actually for Coley of Paisley Knits. It was a sample knit last year, and it was in the full skein that came at the end of her advent last year. Really, really beautiful, subtle, rainbowy colors of like blues and greens. I think it was called Oyster. I loved them. But the fun thing about these, like, yeah, the pattern's fun. They're fun to knit. But these were what I called my playoff socks. So I'm a really big hockey fan, like really big. It's one of my kind of hyperfixations. There are 80, if you're not familiar with hockey, there are 82 games in the regular season, and then there can be up to like 2 months of playoffs. It's great. I love it. I watch hockey. It's basically every other night. I watch it as much as I can. We're in the off season right now, and I'm a little bit lost with what to do on my evenings. But I cast these on. My team is the Colorado Avalanche. My dad's originally from Denver, so I cast these on because I went to round one of the playoffs in Dallas because my team was playing Dallas, and so they were here. I drove, it's about 3 to 3.5 hours based on where I am outside of Houston. And I took these with me I cast them on, took them with me and worked on them at the game. And then my goal was to only work on them during playoff games. Unfortunately, my team got eliminated in the first round, which like terrible. There were some really bad calls in the last period of the last game. We had a 3-goal lead going into the third, and we lost it, and then we lost in game 7. So we were out in round 1, which was really sad. I was hoping these would bring me good luck, but they didn't. But another fun thing is, so the color is really pretty. These have stellina in them. I've never used yarn with stellina. And so let's see. The yarn is from Coven Collective, which is not a dyer I'd ever heard of before I bought this yarn. And I bought this yarn in Denver. My dad turned 60 last year, and so he and my mom went to Denver, and my mom and I concocted a plan for me to go and surprise him. So he didn't know I was coming, but we got to go to a hockey game. And he actually went to like 2 or 3 while they were there. That was part of his birthday celebration. I got to go to one. And I bought this yarn while I was in Denver for that trip last November. And it's not the colors of my team, but it's like kind of close. Because we're burgundy and blue, and like this is purple, but it has a little bit of red and a little bit of blue in it. So it's loose. That's a loose connection. But The color, so the base is bronze elixir fingering, which is 70% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 10% stellina, and it is bronze stellina. It's really pretty. You honestly can't see the stellina a ton, but it's like it's there a little bit. So I like that. But the color, this is part of also why I think it's funny for hockey, is called Bloodbath. And one of my favorite things about hockey is the fights. And honestly, my team doesn't get into a ton of like good fights, which makes me a little bit sad because there's just something about watching these grown men just fight, like get so angry they just throw their gloves and start punching each other in the middle of a game. Like, what? It's crazy. So Bloodbath felt apt for hockey playoffs because there were some crazy fights in the other series that were going on. There wasn't anything crazy in the Stars versus the Avs, but there were some, because I watched all of the playoffs. Even when my team was eliminated, I just picked teams to root for, and none of them won. But there were some crazy fights, so got something out of it. All right, so those are all my finished objects. I currently have one whip since I finished my vest last night. So right now I just have a sock going. And we're back to paisley knits. So this is the October color. Same formula I already said, so I am not going to keep reiterating that. But I will talk about this yarn. I have been waiting to use this one. This is October's colorway from last year. And it is... I've noticed I've knit quite a bit of orange, which is a little bit different for me. But this is coral, but kind of orange. The vest is orange, and now the sock is orange. But it's so pretty. So this is the first sock, which is what I'm on. I finished I'm just finishing the gusset decreases. So I'll just get into knitting the rest of the foot soon. But this, I have read this book. This is based on The Martian by Andy Weir. I think is how you pronounce his last name. I read this book in high school. So, oh God, it was like 9 years ago. Maybe 8.5. 8.5 or 9 years ago, I read The Martian because I don't remember when the movie came out, but I think the movie came out first. Saw it, loved it. I was obsessed. And then I found out it was a book and I was like, I gotta read this. And I was really, science was like my main thing in high school. Or one of them. I just liked school, but I was really into science. I spent multiple years doing chemistry and bio in high school because of the diploma I did. And so I loved The Martian. I loved the science in it. I loved the story. I loved it. I don't have my copy with me. It's in storage. But funny story about this real quick is that when I was my first year in college, in my second semester, I started doing theater. If I look off to the side too much, my lighting changes. So I'm just gonna, also I feel like I keep looking at my viewfinder. Sorry, I'm still getting back into things. But I was at one of the like theater group meetings, and I ended up being president of this group when I was a senior, but I was at one of the meetings. I'd only been to like 2. This was my second one. And someone stood up and was like, we're doing this show. I need an assistant stage manager. I was like, I don't know what that is. But I reached out and was like, hey, I don't know what this is, but I'd really love to work on this with y'all. And so I became an assistant stage manager, which was great. I really loved it. That production is really what solidified my love of doing theater. And I felt really lucky to have such a great experience on my first like production that I was in rehearsal, that I was like in the room for rehearsal. But our props person it was apparently pretty hard for them to get props for rehearsal. And so I was like, I have all this random shit in my room that I can bring to be props. And one of the props we needed was a Bible. And so I just grabbed one of the books in my room that happened to be The Martian. And so to make sure everybody knew it was the Bible, we took a piece of just like, I guess masking tape, like just the plain kind of papery looking tape, and wrote the Bible on it and stuck it on the front. And to this day, I still have that tape on my copy. So my copy of The Martian still says the Bible, which I think is really funny. And I wish I had it here to show you, or I wish I had a picture, because it's just, I loved it. That production was amazing. Great time. And honestly is the reason I kept doing theater and studied theater and love theater. And yeah. Sorry, that was such a tangent from talking about a sock. But I love The Martian. We really gotta wrap this up. So these colors are called, the main color is called I Colonize Mars. And the mini skein, which is this like burnt orange. This one is called Live Another Soul. And I believe soul is like the Mars equivalent of a day. So that was the amount of time he was keeping. And I think like, if I remember correctly, it would tell you what like soul he was on. Again, haven't read it in a really long time, but really happy with this. I'm excited to finish these. I think I'll wear them a lot in the fall. And it was a perfect book and colorway for October. Just stellar. I'll just mention the acquisitions I have. I got 2 different yarns when Woolberry Fiber Co. had their Pride and Prejudice 2005 collection, because I love that movie. I've watched it like twice in the past 3 months, because I watched it with my mom and then I went and saw it in theaters for the 20th anniversary re-release, and a couple days before. All right, camera cut me off, which means we really gotta, I just have so much to say, I think, is the issue. So I was saying, I saw Pride and Prejudice in theaters for the 20th anniversary re-release. A couple days before, I saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters for the 20th anniversary re-release of that. And that was fantastic. I'd not seen either in theaters when I was little. And with Revenge of the Sith, I remember, because it was the only Star Wars at the time to be PG-13. I was 6 or 7, but I remember, because I grew up watching Star Wars. I don't remember a time where I hadn't watched Star Wars and didn't know everything about Star Wars. It was my favorite. When I was little, apparently, I would just ask to watch The Phantom Menace over and over and over again. I just remember my parents wouldn't let me go see it because it was PG-13. And obviously, there are reasons that it's PG-13. There's not a lot of graphic violence or anything, except for like everything on Mustafar. That's not great. But obviously, there's some very dark things, which at 6 probably wouldn't have picked up on, but my parents didn't let me go see it. And I remember being furious. I was so upset that they would not let me go see that movie. And so it was so good to get to go see it in theaters. So I just keep going on tangents. I'm so sorry. But okay, Pride and Prejudice. I got 2 different yarns. I got this one, which is on their Berry Merino, which is 100% superwash merino. It's 400 yards for 100 grams. And I don't know how well the color is showing up, but it's this beautiful green. It's very similar to the green that Elizabeth wears at the ball at the beginning of the movie, where Mr. Darcy talks about dance partners being barely tolerable, and then she throws that back in his face, and it's so good. So it looks very similar to that dress. And right now my plan is to make it's the Feels Right tee. So it's just kind of a basic baby tee, and it's meant to have positive ease. I want it to have negative ease, so I'm probably going to go down a size. When I was swatching, I've already had to go down a needle size, which I have swatched. It's not blocked, but that's my little swatch. It's kind of see-through when I hold it up, but if I hold it over, that's really okay. We might have to rethink this. I might need something on a tighter gauge, but I have 2 skeins of it. Beautiful, beautiful color. I'm excited. I'll probably cast this on next, maybe. I don't know. And then the other one I got is a DK weight sock set. Never done a DK weight sock, but I thought, why not? So it is these beautiful colors. So the main color is called the Hand Flex, which perfect. And then I think this one is We're All Fools in Love. I think. So I'm very excited about these. I have plans. I think I'm going to do the Hibernal socks in the DK weight, which is by Summerly Knits. And I've done the Hibernal socks before. That was what I did for sample for Paisley Knits last year. So very excited about that. I actually have an idea percolating in my mind about something I want to do like video wise with this. So, my lighting. Hope it's not changed too much. And so yeah, those are the yarns that I got from Woolberry Fiber. I think that's it yarn wise. I got an email last night from Sunday Fiber Co. And it was like, we're so sorry that this pre-order is taking longer than expected. And obviously that's okay. I don't mind. But I forgot I ordered yarn from their pre-order. I forgot about it. I ordered it in April and I got the email. I was like, I didn't order yarn. Why am I getting this? And then I went back and I did, in fact, order one skein of yarn. So that'll probably be coming. I think she said they're trying to get things shipped out by like the week of the 21st. So that should be coming soon. I do have yarn coming from Paisley Knits because I used my credit to her store. But yeah, that's mostly everything. Oh, I do have a swatch for a cardigan I want to do. So it's really pretty, kind of really, really light, pale purple that's kind of almost more like a gray, but it is purple. It's yarn I got from Flock last year. It is Sorella Yarns Surrey DK in the colorway Folklore. This was a new base, I think, that she debuted at Flock. This yarn can actually be knit at a bunch of different gauges, so I'm actually knitting it, I think, at a bulky weight. There are other dyers who have the same base who call it a bulky weight, but it can really, it's a blown yarn, so you can knit it at a lot of different gauges. It's the closest equivalent I can think of is Drops Air. So I just looked at Drops Air patterns, honestly, and so I want to make the Darling cardigan by Veronica Lindbergh, who is Kurovakika on Ravelry and Instagram. I've not made her patterns before, but this is just a pretty simple V-neck cardigan. I was thinking about, I actually had originally started a Traveler's cardigan by Ozetta with it because I've knit that pattern a couple times, but I realized I wear V-neck cardigans more than I wear like higher round neck cardigans. That's just my preferred kind of cut. So I decided to frog what I had of the Traveler's cardigan, so now I have to steam the yarn. But yeah, I'm really excited. So that's my other plan, which it's a little bit warm for Surrey yarn, but it's okay. This is it for the knitting and everything. I might talk about media just for a second about what I've been reading and then just maybe mention the shows that I've been watching. But if that's all the knitting. So if you stuck around and don't want to listen to everything else, it's all good. Thank you for being here. I'm really hoping to upload a little bit more frequently. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can follow me on Instagram. It's popsicle_frog, which I think I said earlier. And then if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. You don't have to, but I hope you enjoyed. So real quick, let's just talk about my just kind of rapid fire favorite books I've read this year. I have read almost 50 books already, which is a lot, but also at this point in time, work is really slow, and so I'm kind of just reading at work. But let's just, the first 5-star read that I read was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I love her books. Babel, I think I finished Babel this year too. I think about that book and the ending constantly. Stellar. If you just, please read them. I think Yellowface is really, really important for topics of storytelling and people who say they're allies versus people who put that into action, or their allyship is just surface level, and if it benefits them, they throw it out the window. So super, I think it was a great read. It made me viscerally uncomfortable, but that was the point. So really well done. Fantastic. Like I was saying, loved Babel. I think about that book so much. It's so good. Next, it's hard to say that this one's my favorite because I love Babel so much, but really I think it is. I read Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which... All right, editing Brooke. The next one I talk about is Song of Achilles. I don't have any spoilers, like I don't say what happens, but I do talk about how the story and the ending made me feel, which is Greek mythology, so a lot of people already know going in, which I did, but I talk about my feelings about it, and I guess that could technically be a spoiler if you don't know the story going in, so if you don't want to know, I'll just skip to the next part. I'll have markers. Broke my heart. It absolutely gutted me. I was just sobbing in bed. I read it in a day. I think about it almost every single day. It was phenomenal. If you are not in a great headspace to deal with like loss, don't read it. Do not read it. I wanted to read it for a really long time and I was just not in a place where I could. I'm glad I waited until now because I was able to get through it without it really, really affecting me for more than a little bit. Obviously, like I think about it a lot and it's fantastic, but if I was not in the headspace I'm in now, I think it would have just not been great. But it's so beautiful. The story, the writing, just, man, yeah, I think about it all the time. Madeline Miller, incredible writer. I read Circe when I graduated from high school and I loved it. I want to reread it, I think. So, but amazing. And then we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. She is now like one of my favorite authors. I read the Shepherd King duology, I guess at the beginning of the year. Those are the best fantasy books I've read since I read Throne of Glass. Hands down. Hands down. And it's one of those, the first book, phenomenal. The second book, dare I say it may be better? I don't know. But I loved them so much. And so I could not wait for The Night and the Moth to come out. And it did not disappoint. All of her things, when I've seen them talked about, are marketed as romantasy. They are not romantasy. And I'll die on this hill. They are fantasy that has a romance subplot. The romance is not the main focus. I think it does it as just disservice. Not that there's anything wrong with romantasy. That's a lot of what I read. I love it. So if you're going in expecting like Fourth Wing kind of romantasy, like, because I feel like that's a pillar of the genre at this point. But if that's kind of what you're expecting, you're not going to get that with this, nor with The Night and the Moth. But so good. She is a must-buy author for me now. Like, I will gobble that up. Fantasy-wise, I read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I've been wanting to read for a while, but it went on sale on my Kobo, so I bought it because I've been waiting for my library hold for a really long time. Great. Last new book I read was Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil by V. Schwab. I had not read one of her books before, and now I want to read all of them, which is kind of crazy because everyone talks about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I just haven't read it yet. And I don't know why, but I haven't. Also, Allie Hazelwood, love her. Problematic Summer Romance, so good, so good. Loved it. I read Deep End earlier this year as well. Also loved that. She is, again, an automatic buy author for me. I have to get ready for work. So TV shows real quick. Just watched Andor. Incredible. If you like Star Wars, please watch it. That might be one of the most important pieces of Star Wars media. Star Wars has always been political. For the people that are saying, oh, why is it political now? It's always been political. Always. If you can just watch it for fun, I mean, I wouldn't watch Andor for fun. It's not fun. But it is so important and it is so well done. And so I watched that. I watched season 2 with my dad, and then we watched Rogue One the next night after we finished Andor, and then we watched A New Hope the next night. So we just went through timeline-wise. But I also watched Squid Game. Ending was crazy. I have recently been watching Love Island, which is very different to everything I've talked about. Never watched it before. Not sure I really like it, but I'm into it now. Crazy to me that it's just a bunch of people in a villa talking to each other. And there's not really anything else. They can't even, I don't even think they can go to the beach. They're in Fiji. Also, do they swim in the pool? I've seen one person get in the pool once. I don't know, if you have answers. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because I have work and I feel like I've been talking for eons. I think it has been almost an hour and 20 minutes, which feels like a really long time. But yeah, thank you guys for sticking around if you're still here. I am glad to be back. It's been really fun filming again. I hope this is watchable. And I have some fun videos planned coming up. And so hopefully those will be out in the next month or two. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.